going to talk about section 3.4, adding and subtracting fractions. Now, sometimes this can give students trouble, but we're going to start by looking at a very simple example here. Let's see what we have. We have 1/4 plus 2/4. Now, 1/4 simply means 1 out of 4 because a fraction, remember, is part of a whole. So this means you have 1 out of 4 pieces, 4 being what makes it a whole. So if we draw boxes here, we have 1 out of 4, which means we have 1, I'm going to shade this in, out of 4 boxes. And then we're going to add 2 more shaded boxes to the 4 that we already have. So we're going to add 2 out of 4. And if we add 2 to the 1/4, that of course is going to give us 3 shaded boxes out of the 4 that we have. So 1/4 plus 2/4 equals 3/4. Let's look at another example down here. Let's look at example 1. We have 3/8 minus 4/8. Now if you notice, or 3/8 minus 5/8. Now you've noticed that when we added 1/4 plus 2/4, we're really just adding the numerators, 1 plus 2. When we have common denominators, that's all we're doing. Remember, you can only add like objects, and you can only add like when they're like denominators. So if you have 3/8 minus 5/8, all you have is 3 and -5, which would give you -2/8. However, -2/8 will reduce to -1/4 because 2 goes into both of them. So make sure you're always reducing your answer. Now, what happens when you have different denominators? Well, let's look at another example like that on our chalkboard. Okay, example 3 from the notes. We have 3/8 plus 5/6. Now, this is the first example where we have different denominators, and you cannot add 8ths and 6ths together. You have to have a common denominator. You have to be taking them out of the same whole. So we're going to have to find the common denominator, and we call it the least common denominator, the LCM. That's going to be the least number that both 8 and 6 will go into. Well, the smallest number that both 8 and 6 will go into is 24. So we're going to use 24 for our new denominator. And if you need to list multiples of 8 to figure out what number both 8 and 6 go into, you can do that as well. If we want to change 8 to denominator of 24, let's ask ourselves, what could we multiply 8 by to get 24? Well, we could multiply it by 3. So I'm going to multiply the denominator by 3. Now, if I multiply the denominator by 3, I must multiply the numerator here by 3. And multiplying by 3 over 3 is the same as multiplying by 1. So we're not really changing the value, we're just rewriting it. In the numerator here, we're going to get 9 over 24 because 3 times 3 is 9. Now let's look at our second fraction, 5/6. We would have to multiply 6 times 4 to make it a common denominator of 24. And so we're going to multiply the numerator by 4 also, and that will give us 20 over 24. So if we add them together now, because we're adding out of the same whole, a whole being 24, we'll have 29 24ths. So there's our first answer. Now over here, again, we have different denominators, and we're going to have to find our LCM, or the least common denominator. And as I said before, one way of doing that is to list multiples. And it goes a little faster if you start with the larger number, because you'll get there faster. So let's start with 12. We have 12, 24, and of course we're looking for a number that both 9 and 12 go into. So let's keep going. We have 12, 24, 36 is the next one. Now, 9 goes into 36 also, so this is going to be our LCM, or the least common denominator. So, let's take it out of 36, or let's change each denominator to 36. We would have to multiply 9 times 4 to make it a 36, so we're going to multiply the numerator by 4 also, and we're going to get -16. Over here, we're going to multiply by 3, because 12 times 3 is what would give us 36. So we're going to multiply the numerator times 3, and we would have 21. Now make sure you're always carrying your signs down. It's minus right here, and it's negative, so I brought my negative sign down. You have to remember to bring your signs down. Now we can get our final answer. We have -16 and -21. Well, that's going to give us -37 out of 36. So that would be our answer for that one. All right, let's go back to the notes here and look at another example. Okay, another part of example 4 is B. This is example 4B. We have negative 7/12 plus 5/6. Again, we do not have common denominators, so we have to find a common denominator. But 12 and 6 will both go into 12. So I'm going to change each of these to a denominator of 12. But I really don't have to change negative 7/12 because it already has a denominator of 12, so really I'm just going to bring that down. Now 5/6 I'm going to have to change. And since I would multiply 6 by 2 to make it 12, I'm going to multiply 5 by 2, and that'll make it 10. So then we're going to have negative 7/12, which we didn't change, plus 10/12, remember we changed 5/6, and that'll give us positive, because you take the sign of the larger number, positive 3/12. Now that will reduce because 3 goes into both of those, and remember to always reduce your answer. Okay, let's look at another example here on our blackboard. On example 4C, we have 3 minus 9/20. This is the case where we have a whole number minus a fraction. Well, when you have one like this, the easiest thing to do is to make it look like a fraction by putting it over 1. And then you see that your denominators are 1 and 20. And of course, those are not common denominators, but you just have to find a number that both 1 and 20 will go into, which of course is 20. So our least common denominator on this one is going to be 20. Now, notice on this one we don't have to change it because it already has a denominator of 20, so we're just bringing that down. But this one we will have to change. We'd multiply 1 times 20 to make it 20, so we're going to do that also in the numerator here. And that'll be 20 times 3, which is 60. Now we are taking it out of the same whole. We're taking it out of 20ths. 60 20ths minus 9 20ths would be 51 20ths, and that would be our answer. Last example over here, we have 3 fractions, and again this time you're just going to have to find a denominator that all 3 will go into. Preferably the least common denominator that they will all go into. So let's list multiples of 5. Okay, we're going to have 5, 10, 15. Now 3 goes into 15, but 4 doesn't, so we have to keep going. 20. Well, 4 will go into 20, but 3 doesn't, so just keep going. 25, 30. And let's skip over to some larger numbers here. We'll start with 55, 60. Now when we get to 60, 3 goes into 60 and 4 goes into 60, so that's going to be our LCM. So we're going to change each one of these fractions to a denominator of 60. Okay? And remember to bring down your signs. That's going to be a plus there, and it's going to be a minus there. Alright, we would have to multiply 3 by 20 to make it a denominator of 60. So we're going to multiply 1 times 20. And of course that's going to be 20. Now on the second fraction here, we would have to multiply 4 times 15. So we're going to multiply the numerator by 15, and that'll be 45. And for our last fraction, we're going to multiply that times 12, and we would have to multiply 2 times 12, that's our numerator, and that would give us 24. Now we can just add and subtract, and we're done. So we're going to have 65, because 20 plus 45 is 65, 65 60ths minus 24 60ths, and you can do this as scratch work on the side if you need to. 65 minus 24, 5 minus 4 is 1, 6 minus 2 is 4. So 65 60ths minus 24 60ths is going to be 41 60ths, and that's our final answer there.